Hello, fellow writers. I'm Lewis. That over there is Tolkien. And that over there is the Duke. Is that what we decided your name is?
Oh, yes, it was.
Yeah, as our guest star. And you have found the Scripturient Society.
Yeah, welcome, everyone.
Hey. Hello.
Yeah, you may recall that Kendall, aka Dr. Spoon's Pallermo from That Pretentious Book Club, our sister podcast that I also co-host over there, her nickname on this podcast is the Duke because we're obviously a very big fan of nicknames. Yeah, because who needs just one name? That's so lame.
Yeah, boring.
Boring. So welcome back, the Duke.
Yeah.
Thank you. I am so happy to be here.
Good. You
Good.
should be.
Okay, great. Moving on. Wow, y'all gave me nothing.
There was no response that came to mind.
I was like, what if we make this as hard as possible for Kendall?
I think that would be interesting.
Okay, in your defense, though, I did give the most generic podcast guest response. I'm so happy to be here, and then you just sit. That's
Thank you.
Well, you sounded polite
okay,
and prepared. I was trying to figure out which one of you guys I was going to ask to tell me about their week first, because again, whenever I have you guys together, I do feel like it's the wife and my mistress, and I'm like, which one am I supposed to ask things of first? And which one's the wife and which one's the mistress in this scenario?
I think I'm the mistress because I'm not the one who's
good. I want to be
here.
the wife.
Yeah, I think so. So in that case, Carissa, as my wife in this podcast, how was your week?
My week was good. Thank you for asking.
You're welcome,
wife.
honey.
Let's see what happened. The puppies got groomed for the first time. So now they're, like 20 pounds lighter and they're so skinny and so cute. And they look significantly younger, which is strange because they're only like 5 months old. So
I'm really enjoying the pictures your mom has been posting of them. Like they're so
has she?
cute.
Yeah. They're adorable.
So sweet.
Yeah. And what else? That might be it for my week.
Not a bad week.
That's super boring. Sorry. What about
Duke,
mistress?
My mistress. How has your week been? Have you missed me?
Ooh, of course, baby. So what did I do? I went to the Houston Museum of Art this weekend.
Oh, cool.
That was fun. Before going in though, my friend who I went with, I did tell her like I'm not that good at appreciating art. It's very much
yeah, I feel that.
A thing that I feel a little bit of shame about because I'll just walk around and be like, oh, good. Okay.
This is
and
pretty.
like have no other thoughts really.
Yeah.
But I had a great time. I like looking at like portraits and landscapes and stuff.
Yeah.
It's just like more conceptual stuff that I get annoyed with, which is, kind of just, I think a common critique of that kind of thing, but also it's like, I think I'm critiquing myself when I say that because I'm basically just admitting that I don't want to think about anything.
Yeah.
So I'm like, nah. I just want to look at that. I love the colors on that one. You know, that's kind of what's going on. But it was a great time. I found some great paintings that I liked. So that was fun. And then what else did I do? Nothing.
Oh,
yeah. Oh, I have been writing a lot this week.
Yay.
Woo! We love that over here.
Yeah, obviously.
Absolutely.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Good for you.
How was your week, mistress?
Oh, well, it's been good. It's been hot. You obviously are also in Texas, so like we had that kind of nice week, and then we got like another kind of hot week. But I think tomorrow we're supposed to get some storm systems, and it's supposed to cool off again. So I'm literally living for tomorrow because I'm like, please be less hot tomorrow. Because also our AC, you can tell how hard it struggles on a hot day. Like it doesn't matter what the thermometer says; it is several degrees warmer than it's supposed to be inside.
Yeah, she struggles.
So, yeah, I struggle, and with all the amount that you guys make me sweat, it's ridiculous. Yes, it's unholy.
Just turning up the heat.
Yeah, I want to correct you, but I don't know how to say it's because you're bouncing on that ball in a way that is less innuendo.
I'm getting my exercise.
I don't.
It's getting crazy in here, you guys.
It's
like
worse
what,
the way
4
Chris
minutes
has
in?
said it. Yeah.
Ooh.
I like it. I like
Oh my
it.
God. On our freaking Charlie Bone episode, which is a middle grade book, we just immediately started talking about sex, and it was like 3 minutes into a middle grade novel.
Yeah.
So we were like, okay, don't listen to this if you're the target audience for this book.
Middle grade book rated explicit.
Yeah.
Literally.
We are trying to alienate the target audience for that book by appealing to the target audience for the pod.
Fair enough.
But I think the only other thing I did this week, you guys, I finally did it. I finally nailed it. I have finished making the recipe for the sweet rolls I'm going to sell at the farmer's market. Like I think this was the 5th recipe I tried. This has been a process, and I was like close to giving up and being like, I'm just not a baker. And they're beautiful. These ones were strawberry and lemon with a lemon vanilla glaze, and they were like pink and white striped because I had like folded the like pink dough and the white dough over and over each other, and they looked kind of like pink and white striped croissants. But I think I'm going to roll them into like little rosettes next time instead of doing the croissants, so they look like little flowers. And they also taste so good. They are so soft. It's crazy. So I'm so pleased with myself.
It sounds like the most perfect dessert I've ever heard of.
I think you'd really like it. So I'm gonna have plenty, because the thing is the recipe, because I don't like to try like and test recipes with like halving it, because it can kind of like mess up the consistency. So I have to make like the whole recipe all the way through once. And it made like 2 dozen of these. So I'm like, it's just us. So I sent some to work with my mom, but in the future I'm gonna have so many. So
that's so exciting.
Yeah, it sounds delicious.
It was delicious. That's pretty much my big update, because that was quite the triumph. And then I came here and I was like, Javi, you have to try one. And he was like, I don't want any sweets right now. And I was like, well, that's a kick in the pants.
I slaved all day for this for you. And I did pick flavors he would specifically want, because last time, what did I use? Cherry and almond, and he doesn't like either of those. And so what's wrong with him?
Right? I don't know. So I picked 2 things that he would like this time. And he did end up having it an hour later. He's like, I just want to wait an hour. And I was like, well, I'm personally insulted, but fine. And so, yeah.
That's a reasonable request, and I hate it.
Yeah, that's the thing. It was completely reasonable, but I was like, I am betrayed. I do feel completely betrayed.
Well, you've never hurt me more than in this moment. Yeah. I'm packing my things.
I've never been more hurt than this. I think we need to go talk to somebody about this, because this was unacceptable.
It's an enormous strain on our marriage.
Yes, exactly. But he did actually finally try it and thought it was really good. So I'm quite pleased. And that's pretty much my success for the week.
Yay.
Cool.
Oh, and our brownie girl gets to go outside again, because of the most recent chicken massacre. We've decided, unfortunately, our chickens are not going to be able to free range. So we're going to have to build them a chicken run. But the good side of that is that because there will be no chickens free ranging on the property, Brownie can go outside because there'll be no chickens for her to kill. So
cool.
Wow.
Everything works out.
Coming up, Brownie.
It really is. My brother is here right now also. And last night Brownie slept in his bed with him. Aww. Like I woke up at midnight and rolled over and looked at Brownie's empty bed beside my side of the bed. And I was like, where is my dog? And so I texted Caleb. I was like, do you know where the dog is? And he's like, oh, she's with me. Is that okay? And I was like, yeah, I mean, I don't care.
That's so cute.
I want to make sure I know where she is.
So cute. Yeah. So she is going to be heartbroken when he leaves, because she's like, and he gives her like little turkey bites all the time, or like whatever he's eating, he'll like give her a treat. And I'm just like, this is unbelievable how spoiled she's become.
Spoiled little girl.
Yeah. My little sausage girl. Such a good sausage. But that's pretty much my week. So
cool.
Yeah. Exciting stuff. We're not doing a word of the week, right?
Right.
Okay.
Correct. No. Wow.
No. Wow.
Take your pick.
All right. Okay. So then this episode, you guys, is going to be a little bit different than usual. Usually we, give you guys a word of the week and we do some book recs. And then we talk about like a different like writing topic for the day and how to like pull some different writing strategy off the right way, we think, because we're arrogant that way, highly educated.
We're right.
Because we're correct. So that's why you guys are here, right? They're like, this is insufferable. We're not coming back to this again.
Please don't leave.
please don't leave, because you guys, this is our 50th episode. So that's right. Woohoo! So we're doing like a bit of a celebration today. We've got our spoons, aka the Duke, aka Kendall, joining us, and because we're all writers. We've all been writers for a very long time, and we're just gonna talk about our writing experience. And you guys, I'm sure, will be able to relate as well and answer along on your own if you guys are listening. But that's what's happening today because we've made it to 50 episodes. So thank you guys for joining us for a whole half a century of episodes were years.
Yeah. I think that jives.
Oh wow, I'm so glad you said that. That was hilarious.
Really into equating years to other things. My mom turned 50 this year, which she'll hate that I shared on the podcast, but I was like, mom. Like if years were cents, you'd be worth 2 whole gumballs right now. Do you know how amazing that is?
Like, oh my God, amazing. Congrats to your mom. We're
or
only
one
worth
of the really big ones. I know, we're worth 1 gumball. This is what I'm saying. I'm like, mom is worth 2 or one of the really big ones with the candy inside. Like,
yes,
that's an achievement.
Prime gumball. Action. Yeah, I don't know.
The ultimate gumball experience.
That's what your mom is.
Yeah, exactly. Which I think is like the highest compliment. And she was like, yeah, I guess that's true. I'm like, Mom, this is fantastic. I'm so happy for you. Congratulations to you.
Oh my God.
Nothing will ever get better than this.
Exactly. Your peak I'm like, Mom, life. You've peaked. This is fantastic. Well, I guess when she turns 75, she'll be 3 gumballs.
Oh my God. Can you
blow
imagine?
my mind all over again.
Can't wait to be 3 whole gumballs.
I know. Like the self-worth I'll feel knowing that I'm equal to 3 whole gumballs.
Seriously.
Unbelievable. Oh God. Okay, let's see. What do we have on our list? We were going to do our favorite genres, themes, or things to write. Let's start with my wife for this episode.
Oh, that's me. I forgot.
Did you like my Borat reference?
I did. I really liked it. For some reason, even though we've been saying the word wife so much, I wasn't like expecting it. So
no, you look surprised. I was like, I'm just waiting for someone to pull it out.
It was good. I'm glad it was you.
Wait, is that me?
Yeah, you're
that's you, baby.
Okay. That's you, darling.
I feel, well, if you guys listen a lot, this is going to be obvious, but I feel like it's a good introduction point. I like to write fantasy. Pretty. That's pretty much it.
Not historical nonfiction.
No, that's the second choice if the list were only too long. But no, I like. Those are the only 2 options that would in fact be number 2. But
that is the nicest way of saying abso-freaking-lutely not.
That is so funny. Adorable. I'm gonna start saying that for everything.
That's exactly right. I was like, I'm gonna start pulling this out immediately for all things.
Yeah, the lists are only too long.
That sounds like an Alexis Rose line from Schitt's Creek.
Yeah, it does.
It's weird. I don't want to be her anyway.
She's got some good
God,
songs,
I would
though.
kill to be her.
I
know. I guess I will say speculative fiction is my thing, and I really like fantasy and magic and world building, so that's not a surprise. I like other things too, but I actually have a couple nonfiction ideas and like contemporary stuff, but those are far in the future.
Yeah, I guess that they're not your primaries.
Yeah, but that's basically what I like. Who's next?
Kendall? My mistress.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I also like to write fantasy mostly, but I have a lot of fun writing historical fiction. I mostly write those 2 things. So I'm trying to think if there's anything I've written that's not that. I did write like half of a okay, that's not true. When I was younger, when I was like in middle school and like really early high school, I pretty much wrote like realistic fiction exclusively, but
so wild.
Then I started writing fantasy stuff. So
it's so wild you wrote realistic fiction.
It is crazy.
Like, ew, that's disgusting.
You just told everyone who's listening. That's kind of
my
gross.
God, you guys. They weren't good, if that helps.
I'm just kidding. Poor of our any listeners who like also write realistic fiction. You guys, we love you. What the truth is, we're intimidated by your intelligence.
Seriously.
I can't do it.
Yeah.
I'm impressed.
What do you do without magic?
What I don't have the fortitude to try and pull that off.
No,
absolutely not.
But anyway, didn't you write a Western once?
Yeah, well,
it's so good.
Or is that historical fiction?
Well, I was counting that as historical fiction, but it is a Western, yeah. And then I have an idea for another Western that I've just started, sort of, and I'm like pretty pumped about that. So
cool.
It's just like so fun to write. Everyone's like howdying all the time, and you know, rootin' tootin'. It's just the best.
Rootin' tootin'. Oh my god. You're so funny.
Everyone's getting shot and they're saying howdy and they're going to saloons. It's a good time.
Yeah, it is a good time.
I was like, literally everything you just said is Kendall's aesthetic completely. So. Oh, I love it.
Okay. Your turn.
Oh, my turn.
Yes.
Let's see. What do I write? I've never written before, you guys.
What? You're an imposter.
I'm like the dark fae version of myself. No. So let's see. I was gonna say I've been writing since I was 15. That's not true. I finished actually writing like a whole book at 15 and it was horrible. But I've been writing since I was very little. And I'm trying to think if I've diverged from my go-to genres. I don't think I have. I think I pretty much have done fantasy, urban fantasy, really a lot of urban fantasy I used to be into and have done a little bit less of, and weirdly a lot of sci-fi. And I have over the last few years realized that I'm like genre hopping, like I'm genre crossing, I'm merging strange genres. Yeah. Like I've got a mystery fantasy, like a murder mystery fantasy type book. And I've got this other like, it's kind of like a romance epistolary Western futuristic book. And I've of course have the book that's published, Space Alien Southerners and Saving the World, on Amazon. Everybody go check it out, which is
go read it.
An action meets rom-com meets sci-fi meets Southern. So I think my genre is no genre and every genre, but it usually revolves around fantasy, sci-fi, and action to some degree. And lately there's been some more like mystery elements in there, but I'm not good at just doing a mystery. So I feel like my genres.
Oh, that's so fun. I love it. You're all over the place.
Yeah.
In a good way.
Yeah.
Oh, I appreciate
you can't be categorized.
See, the word zany is I discovered it. I think I've told you both. Like I discovered zany. I'd heard of it, but like I heard somebody use it like to describe like a kind of weird book. And I was like, oh my God, it's my word. Because it's like a positive way to describe these very strange genres that I've mashed up together. And so it makes it sound like a good thing when I write in the query letter, this zany YA fantasy. It sounds like a pro and not a con.
Way to trick people with vocabulary. Love it. That's really what writers do anyway. So
yeah, exactly.
You're just using the skills you have.
Exactly. I'm using the skills that I have been given. So let's see. So our next thing we're going to chat about was why we write and our personal goals as writers. So waifu. Oh, I've never called her waifu before. Now I felt like I'm cheating on Kendall because I usually call Kendall waifu.
This is confusing.
Wow. What would I like a 50s husband call his wife? Like I want to be like I want to feel darling. The misogynistic power. Wench is so not 50s. My husband just chimed in. That is not like 50s. That's like 1750s. I'm talking like 1950s.
I was like the
dear.
voice of God.
Dear.
I think dear, darling, those dear, kind of things.
Okay, it's your turn, dear.
Okay.
God.
What was the question? Oh yeah. Oh, you're right. I'm just still kind of reeling from the disembodied voice.
I know. I didn't know he was in there
from across the
room. This is weird. I don't like going first. Writing goals. I mean, I would like to be published. That's really the goal at this point. But also I have really lofty goals. Like I want to be like the next C.S. Lewis, you know?
I know you do.
Ooh.
Yeah. I really do. And it's probably, I don't know. I'm not gonna say probably not gonna happen. I feel like it could. I feel like I'm
never
good at
sell
it.
yourself short.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
So that's kind of my goal. And I want to be like commercial, but also literary, right? Like I want to bring like literary stuff into fantasy and everything. Cause I want particularly YA, cause I want I don't like the idea that you have to pick between the two. Like it's either story or good writing. I feel like it can be both, and it should be both. It should always be both. So that's kind of what I want to do, and then like make enough money to only do that. Those are my goals.
That's a dream come true. Absolutely.
But
what about you, doll? Does that work for my mystery?
Oh, stop. I'm loving it. I love how we had this conversation the other day about
yes, about like best like pet name type things to be called.
Yeah, like ones that are slightly misogynistic, but you're like, listen, I love it anyway.
You're like, how dare you call me that? Would you mind saying it again?
Literally.
One more time.
One more time, please.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't hear you.
So what was that? Oh, how dare you?
Yeah. my goals definitely I want to be published. And I also would just want to be able to only do writing, to make enough money to where that's my thing. I don't even have to be rich. Just like, I want to buy a house.
Yeah.
That's like literally where I'm at. I'm like, that would be great.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it would be fun. I want to have some people who like my books enough that I can go to like book signing at Book People, and there are people there and they ask me questions about stuff. I think about that all the time. That's so like cool. My number one goal. I'm like,
it's because you have so many author experiences. You're like, it's my turn now.
Okay, literally.
you can like look at all of the people that are having the embarrassing experiences you've had and be like, oh, I remember being in that position.
Yeah. Like, that's so me.
Oh, that's so cute. Anything else? Oh, my turn. All right.
That's pretty much it for me.
Okay, sweet. I want to be published, which is not a secret, but like actually traditionally published, like with a literary agent through a publisher, not like self-published. Mm-hmm. Although like that's fun for my really zany stuff that no agent's ever gonna want, and I'm okay with that. But I would like my more marketable stuff to be traditionally published. Like definitely like baseline goal, I would love to make enough writing that can be like my full-time job. I would like to travel, and like book tours sound like fun. I think that just sounds great, but like it's not a must. Like my baseline is just make enough money to not have to do other jobs, can just write. Yep. But like dream is I'm going on book tours. I want like Leigh Bardugo level of success. Like I don't have to be J.K. Rowling, okay? Right. But like Leigh Bardugo, like she's very successful, and her book, I feel like you said, like it's got like it's fantasy, but it has some more literary elements to it. And I think that's part of why she's so popular, is because it's just the craft is so excellent, plus the concept. I also feel like all of her readers are so fun. Like I love the Grisha-verse community of readers.
They're all adorable.
They're adorable.
A good fandom, I think.
Exactly, a fandom. That's the word. I'm so out of touch with reality. A fandom. I would love to have
with
a
reality.
Like that. Yeah.
Yeah, another word fandom.
Reality anymore.
The most delusional people on the planet.
See, I'm like, they know what's up. I would love to inspire a fandom like that. Not because I want the praise. I actually I'd be fine with no one ever even knowing who I am. And like, I could pick a completely different pen name. I just love seeing how excited people are with that whole universe. Yeah. So like that, I want to be like Leigh Bardugo level would be my goal. Like, I don't need to be hella rich. I don't need like all of the fame. I don't need any of the fame, but I just want a lot of people to read my stuff and have a really good time. And also to not have to work other jobs.
Yes.
That seems to be a consensus.
Yeah, well, it's almost like
the dream.
Well, it's almost like you can be more effective at your craft when you don't have to spend 40 plus hours a week doing something else that's not your craft.
Yeah, that's true.
Crazy.
Everything just works toward that goal.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
Oh, here's a good one. What genre could we never see ourselves writing, and why? Go ahead, dear.
Okay. I'm dear, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if Kendall's gonna get mad at me, but the answer is Westerns.
I would never get mad at you.
How dare you? I am insulted to the core.
Just because, like, I don't know. Here's the thing. Could I write Westerns really well? Probably, because I'm from Arizona, and oh boy, is everything saturated in Westerns. But
I literally set my Western in Arizona. Yeah. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
No, you're good.
I'm interrupting to make it about me. Okay, just tell me to shut up.
How dare you?
You are the mistress.
That's what you do.
Yeah.
Okay, true. Insert myself
You're supposed
in
to insert
situations.
yourself. Yeah.
Yeah.
But so I could probably write really good Westerns, but also I'm so saturated in them that I would get so bored really easily because I've seen all of them and I've been to all of the towns and all of that kind of stuff. So I would just not love it. Also, I feel like I couldn't do murder mystery well because like if it had a fantasy thing going on, sure, but I don't think I could write a whole plot about a murder mystery.
Yeah.
I'm willing to set those two in stone. Those feel like the things I can't do.
I'm willing to die on that hill. Absolutely.
Yeah. Why not? Someday I'm going to write a murder mystery that's also a Western and people are going to come back and be like, how dare you?
I love that so much. Hang on. One of you
can have it
now. No, I can't pull it off. One of you has to pull it off. Probably Spoons.
Okay. Mine was sort of a murder mystery. Somebody got murdered and you weren't sure who did it until the end.
That's basically a murder mystery.
Yeah, it was.
I think that you could go harder with it though. I think it could be cool.
Cool.
Okay, when you actually do write the Western murder mystery, I'm gonna like pin this and be like, look, she did it.
Never say never.
Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, that's my answer. So Kendall's turn.
Yeah. What about you?
You can interrupt now.
Yeah. Oh God.
You
so annoying. Okay.
Stress.
I think that it would be. It's hard for me to write science fiction. I like watching it. I hardly ever read it, and I don't think I could write it. I'm just like, I always am like, okay, but what if it was actually magic instead? Yeah. That's like where I'm going. And so I just don't think I could ever do it. I just don't really have the desire to. Go ahead.
Okay. The thing with sci-fi is that it's so hard to do well. And one day I would so love to write like an epic sci-fi. Do I think I'm capable of it now? No. But one day when other people have written other sci-fi books and I can use them to jump off of, but not yet. You know what I mean?
I like it. That's so funny.
Anyway, I also love sci-fi. It's a great genre when done well. It's just really, really hard to do well. So
sometimes it's even better when it's done really badly. It has to be either done zany, really well or really, really bad. Yeah, zany is actually the word I'm looking for. No, but seriously, like kind of like middle ground. You either go really hard or you go really ridiculous, and anything in the middle is awful.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But Kendall's also right. It's like every time I have a sci-fi idea, I'm like, but wait, what if it was magic? Like that would be so much better. I have the
opposite. Even when I'm writing fantasy, I'm like, okay, but what if this was like a science thing and not like a magic thing? So that's why I get myself tripped up a lot in my fantasies.
That's interesting.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Yeah. So is that it? That's your only genre that you wouldn't ever write?
Yeah, basically I could do everything else. No, just kidding.
Everything else is on the table. Not that one.
I think I could write realistic fiction again, but it's not like what comes naturally in my brain all the time. I mean, unless it's historical. I love writing historical realistic fiction, but not modern. But I think I could do it, but I just don't think I will do it.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so what I could never do is I could never write erotic fiction, and it's not for even the reason of the erotic necessarily, although I couldn't do that. It's because it's the erotic romance fiction, and my books are already very romance light. Like I could not base an entire book around romance alone. Like I simply cannot do it. Cannot do it.
Yeah.
Don't really want to do it.
You really just don't like doing it.
I really don't. I want my books to have romance, but it's so hard to even weave like an authentic romance into my existing stories that trying to write so not even an erotic romance, even just a romance, like I could not do either of those because I'm just like, okay, but what about all the other parts of life that aren't this romance? So that would be really difficult for me. And then also like chick lit, like contemporary like chick lit fiction is, I don't think I'd ever be able to write it. I think I could write like kind of more like literary fiction type thing, but even like when I tried my hand at that, it ended up being kind of magical realism-y. I just don't think I can do chick lit, which is funny because like chick lit is like the comfort genre, and like
it really
people
is.
enjoy
for you
it.
Or everyone?
For like everyone, like on like a grand scale, chick lit's like this comfort genre and has like a lot of good things to say, and I just can't do it. I think it takes a level of skill for like to have an imagination about like contemporary life. I just don't have.
To see magic in the real world. I'm like, but wait, the real world sucks. So I'm gonna make stuff up, like, as opposed to
as distanced as possible. Yeah.
People are like, the sunsets are beautiful. I'm like, but what if it was actually magic?
See, I'm like, what if the sunset was 2 suns and a moon in the background?
What if it was actually an illusion?
What if nothing is real?
Yeah. What if the material world doesn't exist?
Ooh, all of this is good. Yeah, so we can see why we
write that down. Write that
down.
Because no one has ever had that thought before.
No, this is all brand new stuff, y'all.
Totally.
Yeah, we're breaking ground here. What about do we identify as pantsers or plotters, dear?
I am pretty solid. Well, I want to say I'm pretty solidly in the middle, but I probably lean pantser. So
yeah,
not in the middle then. Because I do this weird thing where, you know how when you talk about writing, the hardest part is always the synopsis, and like no one ever disagrees on that. So not that you can't, but I've never heard anyone disagree on it.
No, I've never heard it. Reach out if you guys think synopses are easy. And also,
so
I would like to know which planet you fell from or which version of heaven you descended from, because
what magic you have.
Yeah, what kind of magic do you possess and where did you get it if synopses are easy for you?
Yeah. But when I'm planning something, I can't just go into it blind. I have to know like what the characters' names are and generally where things are going. So I'll essentially write a synopsis of what the book is going to be as my planning, but then I just don't do anything else. Like I write character names, I get a little bit about them, and then I just write out the plot like a synopsis. And yet for some reason, the synopsis is still really hard at the end because of course it's a super rough synopsis and it's terrible and it makes no sense to anyone but me.
Yeah.
But that's kind of where I start. And I don't know if I would recommend it, but it's not bad. So
I like it.
That's kind of my planning. I have written a couple outlines lately. I have 2 books, one that I've now written and one that I haven't, that I actually did make an outline for. And it was easier. Yeah. So, I mean,
I think it's more of a spectrum. I don't think it's really like you're either a pantser or a plotter. I think most of us are somewhere on that spectrum because I mean, who completely pantses an entire book and it's like a totally thorough project with no plot holes, and who plots a completely book without like completely a whole book without going off course? I just don't see it happening.
Yeah. I agree. It's a spectrum. So maybe I'm more plotter than I think I am, but it also depends on the book. Sometimes you have certain books that you don't need to do a lot of planning for, and others you do. And in the past, my books have not needed a lot of planning. And recently they've needed a lot more planning. So,
well, your retelling was very planning heavy.
Yes, because I wanted it to mirror the original. And that's just like, you can't pants that. Yeah. There's no way my brain is going to hold those details without writing an outline. So, yeah. What are you, Kendall? / darling? What are you? Doll?
Darling?
I am I do pretty much the exact same thing.
Yeah, okay, good.
So I pretty much for everything I ever write, most of the time though, I start with a scene and I just have an idea for something and I write the scene. And then I'm like, oh, I want to make this something longer. And then I'll do bullet points, what I think the plot might sort of be. And then I'll write down like names of characters and stuff, and then I'll just start going. And that's pretty much the extent of my planning. But I do that every single time I write anything. I do like my first idea of what the plot is going to be, but it always ends up changing, and then I'll have to redo a bullet point plot so that I can keep myself on track, and then it still changes again. And so it's when I'm actually in it, I'm more of a pantser.
Right.
I pretty much never stick to exactly what I've written down, because also I'm pretty loose about my bullet point plots at the beginning. I'm writing a retelling right now too, and I was super excited because sometimes, like, usually when I start writing something, even my bullet point plots are kind of like, it takes me a while, or I'll come back to it after I've written some more, and then I'll like be like, oh, this might be how it ends, that kind of thing. For this one, I literally wrote the whole plot down in 45 minutes and was like, okay, that's perfect. And then I just started writing. And so it's kind of but that's also because I basically was just going off of like something that already exists, so it's probably way easier. But I did change stuff anyway. I'm really excited about that. But yeah, that's where I'm at with. So I don't know, maybe I'm a plantser.
Plantser.
Plantser. I like that. It makes it sound like planty, like,
yeah,
flowers, but not.
Yes, it does. On the Pantser plotter, y'all gonna see how, so I almost said Pantser. I can't say this now. The Pantser on this spectrum we're discussing of who plans and who does not. I used to be like full Pantser always. And the last few years, I've become like more on the plotter side. Like I'll still go off course some, but I realize like I have done a lot more plotting. Like I've ended up spending hours and hours plotting. And then of course replotting when you go off track, and then I like do like a new outline and stuff. But I spend so much more time outlining than I ever thought that I would. And I can't even like leave my computer without putting like a brief outline of the next scene, because I'll do like a full synopsis like you were saying, but now I'm also doing like a book by book synopsis if I think there's going to be more than one book, so I've got the overarching thing going on. And then I'll like go through and have my bullets, and then they change sometimes though. And so then like the word by word, like scene by scene, like what people are going to say to each other, I like at the end of every chapter I write, I kind of plot out the next one, at least like the big things that need to happen.
Wow.
So I did not realize how much of a plotter I've become, but I honestly think it's because my memory is so garbage. If I don't do that, I'll completely forget where I was going entirely. So
Yeah, fair.
I love saying I spend hours and hours plotting. It makes you sound like a super villain.
Yeah.
I love it.
I do spend hours and hours plotting. I'll let you guys decide what about.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, real fast. There's this TikTok sound, and it's some lady kind of saying like, I no longer drink coffee. I what is it? It's something like I'm no longer drinking coffee like for good. And then she's like, I only drink it for evil.
That's so good.
Anyway,
I love that. That's really good. I'm drinking Earl Grey right now. And it's quite satisfying.
Very on brand for you.
Yes, it is. So my wife, what was your first whip or whips, and the ones that will never see the light of day particularly?
Okay, I have a lot to say about this one, so buckle up. I don't know if it'll be funny or embarrassing, but let's start. Good. So first of all, like kind of like you guys were saying, I've been writing for a long time. I think I started writing, I don't know if you would count it, at like 6 or 7. And I did it in that sense where like, you get like the computer paper and you write out the story on a few pages and you staple it together and then you like give it to your mom to read. And she's like, this is fantastic. And you're like, I'm going to grow up to be super famous, And so I did that. And the one that I remember most vividly is that I wrote a book about an obstacle course and these friends going over an obstacle course, and I finished it and I was like, this is the peak of literature. This will be the book that gets me a book deal. It is fantastic. And really, looking back, I think that I felt that way because it was the first book I had written with any plot. All the others were just adorable. Like, there's a mom, there's a dad, they had a kid, and that's the end. And then this one was like, they have to go through all these obstacles. And I was like, this is the most genius idea anyone has ever had.
That is adorable.
I also got locked out of the house trying to find my mom to give it to her because I was so excited about it. And I went out the gate and the gate closed and I was not tall enough to open it again.
Oh my God.
And then I didn't think to ring the doorbell or anything. So my mom thought I had been kidnapped or was lost and I was just outside.
That is commitment to your craft from a young
reading
age.
My obstacle course book and, dreaming about my future. So I was having a good time.
That
also,
is hysterical.
Thank you. In this stage of life, thinking back, I was only thinking about this the other day. I also wrote a book about a pregnant man and about the Twin Towers.
But this sounds like some Ash level nonsense right now.
They weren't combined, but I just, at 7 years old, maybe 8 years old, I think I actually wrote a book about the Twin Towers coming down. And there's no way I understood what I was doing at all. But I remember the cover and I literally drew a cover of 2 buildings and there was a plane.
This is insane. Oh my God.
That is so funny. Everyone's like, oh my God.
I was morbid from a young age. I don't remember what it was about.
I want to go back to the pregnant man.
Oh, okay.
I want to go back to that. What was that about?
It was about a man becoming a father. And I didn't understand anything about sex because I was 7, so I thought that was possible. I thought it was just really rare. But it's actually not possible because of the body parts involved. So, you know, and I remember my mom reading it and being like, interesting. What is this about? And I was like, well, you know, like, what if a man got pregnant? And she's like, and, you know, just kind of said nothing about it.
That's adorable.
So there's that. Then
there's more
things. There's so much more. From like 4th or 5th grade to 7th grade, I was really into drawing cubes. You know, you draw like the squares and then you connect the lines.
Right, because it's so fun to do that.
It is fun. So I wrote a series of little comic strips about this girl named Soapy, Sopey, and she was, you know, she had the triangle dress and like the curly line ponytail thing going on, and she was a thief. And she would break into cubes and steal diamonds and stuff with her father. And it was a whole saga. It was a whole saga
going on here.
There was. Wow. And it started out with just her, and then it became a family business. And then she decided that she was going to go good. So then her father became her arch nemesis. And
wait.
I'm married into such
I'm
drama.
Seated, you know, I'm ready.
It was so good. And it was always like, I did an art class because that, you know, when you have downtime in art class, like you have paper to draw on. So I drew on it. I think people were pretty into it. Either my friends are really good liars or they thought it was fun. So I was pretty proud. Yeah. And I got really good at drawing cubes. I put her in a cylinder a couple times. I put her in little triangle. I couldn't get the pyramid down, but I could get 3D either. Triangles.
That's hysterical.
So there's that too. The best one I saved for last. I think it's the best one.
I love that we're just progressing up the scale here.
It's going up so much. I want you guys that are listening to understand where people start and how they can get to, like, you know, I think I'm a good writer now. Like it didn't start sane. And it's not really sane now, but it's at least organized.
I'm like so enjoying this. I'm like, little Ash is like, didn't even know she had like an insane little soulmate in Arizona.
I've been here the whole time.
That's so cute.
So on previous episodes, I think because Kendall was on the fan fiction one. So if you guys haven't listened to that one, go listen to it because we talked about fan fiction. And
I was specifically requested for this.
She's our resident fan fiction expert.
Yes.
God.
And I think in that episode, I think in that episode, I said something about how I had never written fan fiction. And I think I might have accidentally lied.
So you lied to us.
I did.
You're a liar.
I am a liar. I wrote I was like 11 years old. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to go for it. I want to be a published author. You know, it had all just been kind of like a fun thing before. And I was like, I'm going to do this. So my first project where I sat down and I was like, this is going to be it. I essentially wrote a Harry Potter fan fiction. I did not know that that's what it was because I didn't have a name for it at the time, but it was basically the same magic system. It was the same world, all of that kind of stuff, but a lot of the details were very different. Let me just explain what it is. First of all, there was a Virgin Mary pregnancy at some point because I was 11 and I didn't want to talk about it. So I was like, you know what's realistic? A Virgin Mary kind of pregnancy thing.
Oh my God.
I like it so much.
It's funny because accidental pregnancies are like a thing most people hate, but this just it brings it up another level because they didn't even do anything.
You were like, nobody's safe.
Yeah. No.
Oh my God.
Anyone can get pregnant in my world.
Oh my God.
Terrifying.
Oh my God.
Also, it was all the characters. I changed their names. But Harry had been raised by Dumbledore and he had literally grown up at Hogwarts. So that was fun.
That's awesome.
I like that.
And Voldemort lived just down the street.
Okay.
In his evil mansion, you know.
He's like a crotchety neighbor.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he had a lot of kids. And the Malfoys also lived there, but Draco had a twin brother who betrayed them and turned to Hogwarts and Dumbledore.
Oh, hell yeah.
I love it.
And the Malfoys and Voldemort are super in denial about this. So they keep trying to get him back and attacking. And this is like the source of the conflict. And also that twin brother was dating Luna Lovegood. So, there's that. It was fun.
Okay, I love it.
This is galaxy brain, actually.
Really
Ron and Lavender were still together, and Lavender went blind at one point. So that's also a thing I did.
Wow.
I'm trying to think of other details because this is the best part.
Wait, this is the one this is the one we just talked about with the virgin pregnancy.
Yep, this is all the same one.
Okay. I'm just trying to keep it straight here.
Of all of the Harry Potter fan fictions that I've heard of, I don't know if this exists, but I've never heard anyone talk about this. Maybe it was just me. This is the part. I made Hermione Voldemort's daughter.
Oh my god, I love that. I actually love that.
And she and Harry were in a forbidden love situation.
Whoa.
Was she the one who gets virgin pregnant?
Yeah.
Yes.
And so it causes all kind of conflict. There was time travel. There was them going into the real world and accidentally exposing them to the Muggles. Hermione had a sister, Voldemort's other child, that was a straight up psychopath. They got snowed in a couple times.
Yeah, okay. This is insane.
There was a lot of stuff. And it was a 7-book series that I had planned. I only wrote the first 3, but they were absolutely terrible. They were total trash.
I only wrote the first 3. Girl! What?
As long as the first series I ever finished and thought was good enough to publish.
Oh my god.
And I had it all planned out, and I finished the 3rd one, and then I had an inspiration for another series that was basically just a Charmed ripoff, right? Charmed, the TV show ripoff. So I didn't ever finish it, but yeah, that's a fan fiction I wrote, and it will never see the light of day.
Okay, but I would like to argue that it should. I feel like that is so far removed from what we know about Harry Potter and the plot and characters.
The names.
Just change the names and give us the story. Because now I'm like, I need to know what happens to Harry and Hermione's virgin love child.
Yeah. Can I make that a trope? Can I make that a new thing? If people don't like accidental pregnancy, do you like the accidental pregnancy with no sex before it? Is that better?
Is like, that
no. It's like, no, it's the pregnancy part. The accidental pregnancy part is the part we're worried about. Oh my god, that's so funny.
Crazy.
Yep. I really wanted to share that story because I'd forgotten how insane that was until I was thinking about it the other day. So
yeah, I'm so glad you shared it. I feel so comparatively sane. Usually I'm like over here in my own world, like talking about a fish, about a sea, like a fish, a dream about fishes, about a sea that's made up entirely of tuna fish.
Gotta talk to a fish about a sea.
What?
My point was, you make me feel more sane just now, and I really appreciate that. So thank you.
You're welcome. Listeners, do I make you feel more sane?
Yeah.
Is that better? Do you feel more normal?
They're like, oh, we're not listening to this podcast anymore. They're both crazy.
They tuned us up.
Yeah, they thought at least one of us was sane. It's not true.
Yeah. Anyway, I think that's it for me on this.
Is that all?
Yeah. That's it.
I so want that last whip you talked about. Like, I need you to change the names in the setting, and I need you to give me that story.
Oh my god, yes.
Maybe one day if I make extraordinary changes. So.
All right, my mistress, my darling.
Okay. Well, mine.
Is it normal?
Don't disappoint us with something normal.
Compared to yours, mine are normal. But so I was gonna say, the first thing I remember writing down and being like, "This is a book I'm writing." I was in like 4th grade, and 4th or 5th grade. Probably 4th, and it was I think I might have talked about it the last time I was here, so I don't know how deep I'll go into it, but it was called The Dragon Thieves, and it was kind of lit. Honestly, it was like
it was kind of awesome.
I mean, it made no sense, like plot wise it was very flimsy, but it had the beginnings of a plot. So it was like basically the main character was like the princess of this one kingdom, and the other main characters were like her 2 besties. One was a boy and one was a girl, and then the boyfriend, he wasn't her boyfriend, but he was
the male
friend. Boy. And he had like a dog, and so it was like the 3 of them and this dog. Aww. And they basically every kingdom in this universe had like their own like army of dragons, and they would like, instead of sending troops out to fight battles, they would just send their dragons out to fight each other. And so like the kingdom with the most and coolest dragons was like top dog. But our main character, like something she did, I forgot what, she like accidentally let all of the dragons get stolen. So
oh my god.
so she and her two friends and the dog had to go like to the other kingdom to get the dragons back.
Nice.
That is amazing.
So plot wise, it was pretty flimsy. Like, how did this happen? Why did this happen? But you know what? We're doing it. We're going on an adventure. Like, that was, you know, what was going
Love
on.
it. Got to get the dragons back.
Right. But then, so I was thinking that, but then when you said the thing, like about making little books when you're a kid.
Yeah.
I just remembered that when I was in kindergarten, we had like, it was for something for school. It was like, we were learning about Thanksgiving at school. And not everybody did this assignment. So I'm like, maybe it was a thing where you got to pick some kind of art project to do or something. And I wrote a book about this little pilgrim boy named Philip. And I put it in a book. And it was like one of those, you know, like the golden books that were like blank and you could buy them and like do your own book in there, which was so cool. Anyway, I did that and I like did pictures for it and everything. And I wrote like the whole plot. And I turned that in being like, this is my project. And my teacher was like so obsessed with it that she made me go to all the other kindergarten classes and read it to everybody in the whole grade.
That is so cute. Oh my god, you were famous.
I was so famous for kindergarten.
Oh my gosh.
That's amazing.
You went on a book tour around your elementary school.
Oh my god, you're right. I have been on a book tour.
Oh my god.
So I guess that was really the first.
That is
all down from here.
Thing. When you go on a book tour in the future, you have to be like, this actually isn't my first book tour.
Yeah. I have been on one before. I'm kind of a big deal.
I'm not sure if you guys know, but I owned Kyle Elementary kindergarten. So yeah.
Oh, that's so cute. Any other
right,
whips?
Ash. Oh,
mine.
Those are my main ones. Like those are my first two, I would say.
Yeah.
And then,
Sweet.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I've been thinking through it and I have so many whips that should never ever see the light of day. And I also have a really bad memory. And so I'm sure that there's a lot more that I wrote that I don't remember, but I'll give you guys a few of just like the best ones that I worked on. My earliest work was actually not a book, but I'm going to mention it. It was a screenplay. This is the earliest one that I still have a copy of. And it will never ever see the light of day, but I did record it with my best friend, Lauren. So Lauren, hey girl, what up? It's called All Dried Up. It was about two mermaid sisters.
I remember this too.
Who I think there was a storm and we ended up on land and we had to try and get back into the ocean somehow. I think that was the basic plot. There was a All Dried Up 2. There was a sequel, the script, which is also somewhere still written out by hand. So, I mean, that's probably my earliest whip. No one's going to see it. I do have a DVD of it. And it haunts me to this day. And Lauren keeps asking me for it. And I don't have a DVD burner because I need to send her a copy. She's literally for a decade has been asking me to just send her a freaking copy. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. You were my co-star. Like you have equal property rights to this because she also helped me write it. So I really need to get a DVD burner.
Actually filmed it. Like it went through all stages of the production process. You really did it.
It exists.
We did. We had my little sister, we had her be like the tavern keeper. And she was much shorter than us. And then I
mean a wench?
A wench. Yeah, pretty much. But I didn't know the word then. I would have definitely named her that. And I believe it was originally because my mom said we had to let her play with us. And so the way that it goes, we wrote her into the script. Which of course now I'd be like, oh my God, that'd be so fun to record with my sister. But adult sibling relationships and child sibling relationships are very different.
Yes.
And on the exact same note, we had her little brother, who's a year younger than my sister and was very tiny at the time, play our father, Triton. And he was the poor kid. He was so sick that day. And we were like, we don't care. You have to be in this movie. And so he's just sitting there looking like miserable and all the
He's not only your father, he's also Triton, god of the sea.
Yes. Well, we were at
the age of what, 4?
So, yeah. And our names were something really silly, like Lily and Lena or something like that. Something very, very little kids obviously named themselves.
Like offended, like like close to mermaid culture.
Yes, exactly. So that's my earliest whip that I have like a clear memory of, even though it was a screenplay. And it will never see the light of day if I have absolutely anything to say about it.
That's incredible.
I think something deep in my subconscious keeps preventing me from getting a DVD player, like to burn to burn the copy to send to her. So I'm like, I don't want another copy out there. I'm kind of upset that I have this one. Like, I don't want.
Where is it? Is it on like a VHS or something? I am
not telling you.
Oh, come on, Ash. It's not like I'm going to come out and visit you, search your whole house, find all of the DVDs and videos and everything you have, play it, find the right one, and then copy it and send it to everyone I know. That's ridiculous.
It was a really detailed step by step you just gave me,
though. So talk to me after this. Okay. Unrelated.
Yeah, got it.
Yeah, so I got to go burn it after this. I'm going to go burn some plastic. But so I'm trying to think of like my other ones. I probably mentioned it before. My other earliest whip also, I believe, was written with Lauren. This was a book. It was called Mer Fairy Tales. It was about a mermaid, me, and a fairy, her, who were friends. And all I remember is that there was a race and the fairy was flying and the mermaid was swimming. And that's all I remember. And
doesn't that happen in Barbie Mermaidia?
Does it? Probably. I don't think it's a very novel concept. I think it's
Barbie Mermaidia. Is that really a thing?
It is.
I'm sorry. Are you guys not familiar with the Fairytopia universe?
Yeah. Oh, so that was like right after like when I was watching Barbie movies, and I didn't care about the Fairytopia, but I got so excited when the Mermaidia one came out. Mer Fairy Tales, however, predated it. So I do want to say they must have stolen my idea.
Oh my God.
Of course.
Mattel owes you a fortune.
Absolutely. So that was Mer Fairy Tales, and it was written in like all the fairies parts of the book were written in like giant pink letters, and all the mermaids were written in like giant green or blue letters.
Good.
So
I literally remember you showing that to me as a child.
I was very proud. I was like, this is a masterpiece. But probably the first book that I wrote that I thought this will definitely get published, it's amazing, was also, well, I did a lot of writing with Lauren when I was younger. Because I had a bunch of other projects. This is the problem. The other projects I don't really remember except that they existed, because I would like start one, drop it, and start something else because I just had all these ideas. So the ones that I actually like worked on to a degree were these ones that I worked on with Lauren. It was called Penance Flame, which is actually, I still think it's a really cool concept, but we never finished it because of creative differences. Because I was not
parted ways.
We parted ways as artistic partners after Penance Flame because she wanted to like, I think put like this was like a middle grade book, and she wanted to have one of the characters find like a chopped off hand in a box. And I was like, that's too dark, Lauren. And she was like,
Lauren,
no, it's not.
We
and then I
should
was
go
like,
write a
we
book.
can never work together again. Yeah, no, you would have absolutely have enjoyed it. But it was a cool concept. It was something like all of the dragons had been cursed by this like witch a long time ago and turned into dragonflies. And there's this girl who can like, she starts to hear voices from the dragonflies. And then like one of them, like she touches it or something and it turns into a dragon. And then she has to go hunt down all the original dragons turned into dragonflies. And some of them are like still like encased in amber and stuff. So they're like hunting out these like amber pieces.
I have chills. That's such a good idea.
I know.
Awesome.
I know it's a good idea. I know. This is what I'm saying is I let my unwillingness to cooperate destroy that project.
Just put the chopped off hand in the book, okay?
I should have.
Back with Lauren.
Done it. Yeah. So that was my earliest one that I think had potential. That, and there was another one around the same time that I did solo that was called The Final Ice Age, and it was awesome. And then my computer crashed and I lost it. So
the worst possible scenario, the worst ending to that story.
Seriously, but the plot to The Final Ice Age is exactly the title, so I don't feel like I need to give you guys any detail.
Yeah, okay, we got it. Yeah.
Those are all of my best oldest whips that'll probably never see the light of day unless I suddenly get interested in middle grade fiction, and then maybe I'll try my hand at Penance Flame again. TM, no one take that name, it's mine.
Yeah,
it's the part I feel most confident about of the whole book.
I love it.
Oh my gosh. You guys can take The Final Ice Age though. I don't think I'm gonna use that title again.
Run with that.
If you want Mer Fairy Tales, it's all yours. I rescind all rights. You can have it.
I rescind no rights.
She's like,
it's all mine. If anyone out there has a fan fiction where Hermione is Voldemort's child, that's me. I came up with that.
Yeah,
Back
you guys can
off.
have it.
Yeah.
TM.
I do love that our stories were very different, though. I was like insane and morbid, and Ash was like co-writing, and Kendall was like, you know,
being
doing normal,
I don't know.
good stuff, and going on book tours and
being a normie, I guess.
She was being successful, is what she was being. Adorable. Okay, so next is, what are we working on now, and or what are we the most proud of in our writing career so far? So my dear, why don't you go ahead and tell us?
Let's see, what am I working on? Well, okay. I have like a lot of stuff going now, and it's come a long way from soapy comics and Harry Potter fan fiction. I have the 9-book series I've written, right? That I'm gonna get it published one day because it's really good and I really love it. It's probably also the thing I'm most proud of, because I started writing it at 13 and now I'm not 13 anymore, and it's just so much better than it once was. And I went through all these various stages of learning. I essentially learned how to write in these books, and so they're just like, they're so special to me, and I think they are legitimately very good. So I love those. I kind of have them on the back burner right now because I feel like coming out of the debut game with a 9-book series is not something that most traditional publishers are cool with. So I'm also working on my Lord of the Flies remix, which is like my retelling of Lord of the Flies. That's in like editing stages. I really want to query it, but it's definitely not ready. I read through it this past week, and it's there are certain passages where I'm just like, gosh, I'm a genius. This is so good. And then the rest of it is like choppy nonsense. So I forget sometimes how rough first drafts typically are. And it's rough, but it will get there, and I'm excited about it. I'm currently querying the standalone like historical fantasy novel I wrote that takes place in the same like universe as my big series, and that one just totally skewed my perception of the Lord of the Flies book because it was so easy to write and it really didn't need a lot of editing. It's already pretty good, I think. And I mean, I'm sure it can use some more editing, but it's pretty good, certainly compared to all of the other first drafts I've had. So I mean, it's not a first draft anymore because I'm querying it, but I've been sending that out to agents. I got one rejection already. Yay.
All right.
But, yeah. So collecting those now, but I feel like someone out there is going to want it. So that's kind of where I'm putting my debut efforts into right now. My brain also, a while ago, I came up with a sequel series to the 9-book series, and my brain is like, what if you write those? I'm like, no, I can't there's no reason to write those right now because I can't publish them. There's no benefit for me in writing them right now. It's not productive. But my brain is like, but what if you did? And so I'm fighting that right now. So that's all the things. But I am really proud of the world I created for the 9-book series, because I do have so many other story ideas within that world. And I also think the series is really great. And I think you guys would like it. If you like fantasy, I think it's going to be great. So that's probably what I'm most proud of. And just like looking back at where I started and where I am now, I think I've come a really long way. So
I don't know. Sophie was pretty next level, and your Harry Potter fanfic that's not really a Harry Potter fanfic is more than I could ever ask for.
Might be the best thing I've ever heard of.
You're welcome. But yet I still think I've gotten better. So, you know,
it's possible. I've only improved since then.
Really.
I don't know. I can believe it. That sounds crazy. There's nowhere to go.
Thought it was a
from
peak,
there.
but still upward trajectory. So, Kendall, your turn.
Okay. Currently, I am working on my Midsummer Night's Dream retelling. I'm super excited about it, but I feel super bad because I have once again put my poor historical fantasy pirate book on the back burner. I've been working on that thing for like 2.5 years, and it's like a third done. It's really sad. Anyway, poor book, but so I'm really excited about my Midsummer Night's Dream retelling. It's just like coming out. I'm like,
that happens sometimes.
Like flowing. It's going crazy.
You gotta go with the flow.
That's what I'm thinking. Like, and I've like kind of looked into, okay, that's another thing. Nobody listening to this, you better not steal my freaking idea. Okay.
TM,
because I have
Yeah.
TM. I have looked and there's really not anything like it so far that I have found. So I'm like, I mean, there are some Midsummer Night's Dream retellings, but none in any that are like similar to what I'm doing. So I'm like, okay, I'm really excited. But but also maybe that's because nobody wants that. So I don't know.
It's really hard to tell sometimes.
No,
yeah, like, is this a genius idea or does no one want this?
Nobody wants it. Exactly.
No,
but I
we
think
want
the thing that the thing I'm most proud of is my Western, because I'm really proud of some of my other stuff, you know, like my fantasy books that I've written, and I love them. I love some of those characters like deeply, but I think that my Western is like the best thing I've ever written craft wise. So that's why I'm proud of it.
It is
and
amazing.
It's like a standalone. It's like, that's it. It's like there's no magic in it. So it's just kind of like, it's not like other stuff that I've written necessarily. So
it reads like music.
And I love those characters.
It's beautiful.
Well, thanks, buddy.
You're welcome.
Yeah, so that's my answer.
Cool.
Love it.
See, what I'm working on now, I've told you guys quite a bit about, which is I am rewriting my like fantasy mystery. And what I thought was going to be like just going to be an edit turned into a rewrite, and now the rewrite has turned into like, it's going to be like a big rewrite, and also I restructured the whole series, and also I now have to do like another rewrite after this rewrite is done, because I've made so many changes to the structure of the universe. So that's what I'm working on, and I think it has a lot of market potential, because I queried it before when it was like a quarter as good as I think it's gonna be. So I'm hoping that means the market will still want it when I'm querying again, but we'll see, because the market changes a lot. So that's what I'm working on now. I'm probably most proud of, I have avoided giving you guys the name of it because I so don't want anyone to steal it, but I'm gonna say it because we're all saying ours, and TM. It's called Eyes Like Poppy, like the flower, a poppy.
Yes, I've read it.
Yes, and I think it's my best work. I haven't read it in a few years now, so I might look back at it and go, no, it's not. But to my memory of it, it was like the most like literary. It was kind of had a touch of magical realism. I think it had a lot of important stuff to say. It's also completely outside of my genre. It was something that I felt like, I don't know how it came out of my brain. Like it's so like poetic in concept and theme, as well as I think some of the writing. So I'm probably the most proud of that, even though that will probably be something that if I ever do publish it, would not get published until like way later in my career, because it's not the book you come out strong with, especially because it is not indicative of my usual genre, and it's also like a little more like niche. So it's not going to be the first out of the gate for sure, but I am most proud of it. I think that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Okay, wait, I have like another question that's not on our little outline thing to insert here. So do you guys have like a magnum opus idea, like a book that you don't think you can write yet, but something you really want to do as like an achievement later in life? Yes. Because mine, okay, I'm gonna go first. Go for it. Just because I'm already talking. I really want to write a book entirely in second person. And like, I've already started writing it and the concept is really cool and I really like it. And that's my goal. But second person is so hard because second person is like you and you all. So you're putting the reader in the book. So it takes a very particular type of story and main character to do that well with. And I think I have it and I'm so excited about it, but I don't think my skills are actually there yet. So it's just like on the horizon one day. That's going to be like my, chef's kiss kind of thing.
That's cool.
What about you, Kendall?
I don't know if it's necessarily my magnum opus, but I did try to write a book about the Irish Revolution like a couple of years ago, and I was really into it and I really like the characters, but it's so hard. It was so hard because like I feel like it's much easier to write like a Western, for example, because you're so familiar with everything.
Yeah.
There are so many examples of it, like you can read or watch or anything. It's just like ingrained, like you said, like you just kind of, everyone knows it. And like I love the genre and everything, so I know a lot about it. But and it's easier to like, I think it's because also it's America, it's the Southwest, like I know how they talked, or like, not exactly, but I can kind of emulate it better. But writing a book set in 1920s Ireland with characters who are like Irish and British is so hard, because I thought it was going to be like, oh yeah, I did lots of research on this, I know about it, but then it's just like random stuff that you didn't think to look up, and you're like, oh god, how do they do this? Or like even just about time period wise, like that's always the problem with historical fiction, is you're like, wait, I didn't even think about how they would have dried this pot or something. Like you just have to, it's just like random stuff. So it would have been so hard. So I gave up on it. But maybe later, if I ever become good again, or again, if I ever become good,
are you in like a roller coaster
and come back to it again?
Yeah.
That would be fun to do.
Yeah, nice.
That's a good one.
Cool.
My magnus opus, and this is assuming this is just currently what I see as my magnus opus, but there's a chance I would finish this series and then be like, actually, I have a better idea for a magnus opus. Like, I don't necessarily think this is like the best idea I might come up with, but I think it has the potential to be my magnus opus, in the sense that like that scope I was talking about, like the Leigh Bardugo type scope of like her world and how much it reached people and stuff. Like, I think that this has the potential to be that for me, which I would be perfectly happy if that was my magnus opus or whatever. I just totally said it backwards, but that one I don't have a name for. And I've talked about this one a lot on the Scripturient Society, because it has to be written in third person, and I'm really not good at third person. And it has a huge world, which I've also don't typically, because I don't write in third person. It already. I know, you see, it's all the stuff you like, and
like this sounds like
you guys are like, and I'm like, I can't do third person. And it has like a huge world, and it has a huge magic system, and it also has like the magic system and like all the individual cultures, not just from like country to country, but like from like city to city within the countries. And it's really stressful because it has to be done right. And there's some stuff, like I will say there's a mermaid element that I want to pull in, because it is a key part of my identity, but it's almost impossible to pull mermaids into something without cheapening it. And that's just because mermaids have been done so badly for so long. But I also have to make it like really authentic to the magic system. And I'm coming out of the blue with all of this. Like, the only thing that's based in the real world are the countries are somewhat inspired by real countries, like very, very loosely. So it's really difficult because I'm trying to pull this like really familiar element that we all have our own idea of into this brand new world. It's kind of conflicting. So I'm working on that off and on, but it's very intimidating. But I think that could be my magnum opus. So we'll see. Yeah.
That sounds good.
I love it. It's absolutely in character that it would have mermaids.
Oh yeah.
You pulling off mermaids. Absolutely.
And I have never attempted to pull off mermaids, you guys, except for mer fairy tales, because I don't think that I can pull off mermaids, because writers that I love can't pull off mermaids, because there's so much mermaid media, you guys, like so much, even if you're not in like the mermaid world, like we have such like specific ideas about it. Whenever you write about something, I think you said this once about witches, Carissa, that everyone has such a really like firm preconceived notion about it, that it's hard to put them in like a world that's entirely brand new, because people are gonna take their previous associations of what a witch is into that. So I'm having that problem with mermaids. So I'm trying to call it something different, but it's still something that sounds like siren. And even that, I'm almost like, we almost have too much association with that word too for that to be useful to me. So that might be part of the problem, but
you know what book does mermaids actually pretty well is All the Stars and Teeth by Adeline Grace. Is it? Okay. So I'm not going to spoil too much, but there is one mermaid in this book that is just so awesome. And I think she pulled her off really well. So maybe reading that would help. I don't
know. That's a good idea. Yeah, it's on my list. I definitely need to. So that's the other thing too I've been trying to do, which I'll just start us off because I'm already on this topic, which is our next one was going to be where would we like to see ourselves improve. And I'm just going to go ahead and say, because I'm already talking about it, I have been, first of all, third person. That's my thing I need to improve on the most, is I need to get good at writing third person. It's probably my biggest problem. But the other one I'm like actively working to improve is I've started trying to read a lot of books, including nonfiction, that have to do with the themes that I'm incorporating into my book. Because I think the more that I inherently know what I believe about these different themes, and I have more like, you know, information and content to pull from, I think it'll come out a lot more naturally in the book. Because sometimes I think it can be harder to follow the themes in my books, and I think that's what cheapens them. So I've been trying to actively improve on like my reading nonfiction, and even reading other types of fiction that like pulled off whatever strategy I'm trying to do really well. So yeah, that's that. And then of course, like I said, my third person is abysmal. So that's crushing.
So that's crushing, but
moving on. Crushing, because it's only like all of the best fiction is typically third person. So
I don't know. I think there's some good first person out there, but I obviously prefer third, so I shouldn't talk.
Yes, so many people do, and I'm so very bad at it. But anyways, waifu. Wow, Nessie, I know. See, I did it again where I'm like, wait, which one was I talking to when I said waifu?
I don't know who you're talking to either, because I associate waifu with Kendall. So I'm like, is that me?
Too. Lewis, my wife, Lewis.
That's me. I know that one.
Yes, I thought you would.
Yeah, that's just me. Improve. I wrote notes and I can't see, so I'm gonna hold my list up to my face. This I've talked to Ash about this, and this is like a trope. I'm really bad at bad boy characters. I would really like to be able to get better at that, because I know they're so popular, and I'm normally not the kind of person that wants to follow trends and stuff, but I do think that trends become trends for a reason. And if that's something that people like and people want to see, I want to be able to like have my own version of it and like come back at the things that I don't like in bad boys and kind of like switch it up and make it better according to me. Right. So I want to figure out how to do bad boys better. And just morally gray things in general. I do think my villain is pretty good, morally gray in my series, but other than that, I'm not good at like love interest level morally gray. So
yeah, I never have a better, you guys, I never have a better time than when you guys ask me questions about morally gray, like love interest or bad boy love interest. I'm like, let me
do it more. I don't know what I'm doing.
Cannot.
Kendall and I are the same.
We are.
Yeah. But another thing that I really struggle with, and I'm becoming very aware of it as I'm editing 3 books at once, is that I'm not very good at transitions. And they're so hard. I don't know why. I end up just doing a lot of like chapter breaks, which is fine, but doing too many of them is a problem. So I would like to improve I just think sometimes the flow of my scenes is fine, but the flow of scene to scene, I think I could improve on a lot. So there's that. I'm sure there are other things too, but as of now, I don't know what I don't know. So yeah, thanks.
Well, now that you said it, definitely, I was thinking about it the other day. Actually, I cannot write a bad boy. I don't think I've ever done it.
It's hard.
I wouldn't know where to start.
I can't
especially
write a
if they're
nice
the love
boy
interest.
Interesting. I can't. They're all so boring when I write them.
I think
my bad boys are boring. I'm like, he's so obviously a bad guy.
Yeah, or like it's just, I think it's because I would never go for one, so it's hard for me to put myself in.
Like, why would I be attracted to this?
Yeah, I'm like, no, he sucks. Like, I would never.
What you guys are just showing is that you're emotionally healthy individuals.
Is that what it is?
Yes.
I just can't do it. Like, I don't know. I really wish I could. That would be something to work.
I wish I could do unhealthy things for myself, but I'm just I have such self-esteem, man.
I know. But that is the problem, because then I'm like, wait, are all my love interests boring?
No, because like when you're good at it,
guys.
I think what it is like when I write a bad boy character, quote unquote bad boy, I typically don't do actual bad boys for love interest, but I'll do a morally gray character as a love interest. What my character sees in them is like all of the good things. And so that's the stuff that I highlight about the morally gray character, which is what makes them a convincing love interest. You guys like the actual like nicer boys, like the sweeter boys, but because you genuinely like them, you're not like presenting some weird facsimile of like a boring nice guy. Like yours are authentic and sweet and lovable because that's what you like about them. Like you're actually bringing out the actual good elements of that character archetype.
I hope so.
It's a good thing, and I think we need more of it. Let's have more nice guys who are authentically adorable. Then we have enough morally gray, so I don't think you guys need to worry about it. It's a good skill to have.
Well, it'd be nice to work. I guess I sort of was doing morally. Well, not really. I didn't. No, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. He's not.
Yeah, my version of morally gray is like sometimes he lies.
This is the thing too. Well, sometimes Carissa asks me things. She's like, "Would a bad boy do this?" And I'm like, I mean, even a nice guy. This is too nice for a nice guy.
Well, my main character in my pirate book is like kind of insufferable, but so like he's like annoying and like rude and privileged and like that kind of stuff, but he like works on it. Like I'm trying to like make it. That's the closest I've ever been.
See, it's morally great, and you should. Your morally great. This is a totally different episode that I think we actually already did on the pod. But like your morally great love interest, if they're going to be like an ongoing romance, should improve. Let's not, foster unhealthy attachments.
Yeah, true. I think also, and other things I want to work on. I think that I write. Everything I write is so dialogue heavy. I wish that I was better at writing descriptions of things.
Yeah.
So I have to like force myself to do it. I'll like read something through. Like my first draft of everything is always almost all dialogue. And then when I read it through, I'm like, okay, I'll add a paragraph here. And it makes it so much better. And I'm like, I wish I could do this the first time. Like it's more like inherently.
Yeah. Mine is also really dialogue heavy. And then I'll go back and be like, there's nothing but dialogue. So I second that as well.
Yeah. I feel like I have the opposite problem where I don't put a lot of dialogue in, so then I add it afterwards. And this is where the transitions come in. I'll do like a period of time and I have kind of a funny dialogue piece. So I'll put it in there and I'm like, why is this in here? I don't know how to transition from the prose to dialogue.
Yeah, I think I use dialogue most often as a transition. I think I rarely do anything but dialogue as a transition.
Fair.
I don't know. I think it works fine. What about top writing tips? If you had to give like one or two top writing tips to people, like your go-to ones.
I mean, I feel like the obvious one is that you have to read a lot. So I'm just gonna put that out there and not count it as one of mine. Let's see. I think my big one, and it's once you already have the draft, it's kind of like writing as a whole process. You have to give it time to rest. I'm a really big proponent of letting your book rest, because if you don't give it enough time, I understand that there's a lot of, you want the book to be out there and you want people to read it and you want feedback and all that kind of stuff. You get excited, but if you just give it some time, I just think it gets inherently better. You think of things, you can correct things. It just gets better. So I really think you need to rest your work in progress once you have a first draft, and even along the way with other drafts as well. I also think, and this is kind of weird advice, and I don't know what our age range for the audience is, but start as young as you can. I look at, like my journey from like 6, 7 to now, and the improvement that happened there. You lower the number of years that you're going to have to, or not the number of years, but you lower the number of years that you're going to want to be published and not ready yet if you start as young as you can. So if you're like a teenager and you're like, well, maybe one day I want to be a writer, start now. Just it doesn't have to be good. The first draft does not have to be good. You can just start now and get something on paper and start honing that craft. So that by the time you are an adult or whatever, and you want that as a career, you already have some years behind you in experience. So, and if you're like older, if you're like 40, 50, 60, whatever, like you can still just start now. That's fine. But start now, not, 10 years from now when you retire or whatever. So,
yeah, I totally agree.
I don't know how helpful those are. Those are like big picture tips, but
no, I think they're helpful. Yeah.
I guess my tips would be, I think that a lot, I mean, who am I to give tips, but the I think that a lot of times people want to write something and they probably would be very good at writing something, but they get so bogged down in the details of what they're trying to write, or like they're like, I don't have a good enough idea, or like, this isn't good enough. Like they'll write a couple sentences and be like, oh, this sucks. And like, or they agonize over it having to be really good.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what you're saying. But like, that is, I don't think that's a good way to write anything, because you, especially if you don't write that much, of course it's not going to be great.
Right.
Like you have to just keep doing it. Like, I feel like you have to write all the time in order to write anything that's good. Nobody has to read all the stuff you don't like.
Yeah.
Like, it's,
we have all kinds of stuff that's no one else is ever going to see.
Documents like on my computer, documents. I have a whole like a box right here full of notebooks filled with stuff that nobody's ever going to read and nobody should read. But because I like wrote it all down, now I feel like I have a better understanding of how to write stuff. And also like, I worked on characters, I worked on scenes and stuff that's not even going to be in the book, but it's just like in my head now. So I think that's people just, if you want to be a writer, you should just write. It doesn't matter if it's good or not.
Yeah,
true.
Totally agree.
Yeah. It sounds like silly advice, but it is really good advice, because a lot of people get really bogged down in like, I need to plan, or I need to know what I'm doing first, but you're not going to know what you're doing until you start writing.
Yes,
and it's going to be a process. Yeah.
Totally agree. I think my true to form for me, my biggest tip is going to sound kind of contradictory to itself, because it's kind of a 2-part tip, but it's be disciplined and make sure that you're writing often and making time, even if it feels like you have no time. But also don't be too hard on yourself when there honestly is no time, because I have always hated that old adage of everyone has the same amount of time in a day. You do have time, you just have to make time. Okay, that is I feel like that's a pretty privileged thing to say. Like, that's just not always true. As someone who's always worked multiple jobs and gone to school until recently, that's just not always true. And not if you're going to also take care of yourself, like sleep and eat and have a somewhat of a social life. So absolutely, yes, you need to be disciplined and you need to hold yourself accountable and make writing a priority. If it's something you want to do as a career, if you're doing it as a hobby, it doesn't really matter. But if it's something you want to do as a career, then like you need to be writing consistently, or as consistently as possible. Or like we've talked about in some of our other episodes, like doing something that has to do with writing, like brainstorming for your book, even if you're just like listening to a playlist that reminds you of your book, like you need to be actively working on it. But also don't shame yourself when you don't have time to do that, or if you're just completely burnt out. Because if you get to the point where you make yourself hate what you're doing, you've ruined why you were doing it in the first place. Like, you don't ever want to push yourself so hard that you don't like the thing that you loved before. So it's like, it's not exactly contradictory except on its face. Like, it's really just about finding balance. And I think we all kind of just push that to the back of our mind, and we're like, we'll just figure it out. We'll do just, whatever I have time to do. I think actually being intentional about finding a balance that you can keep, where you can enjoy your life and be a sane and healthy person, but also be disciplined in your writing career. I think it's really important to sit down. And I mean, it took me like months of just thinking about this and like journaling about this to try to find a balance. And I'm still working out the balance. But since I have made finding the balance a priority, I have found both not shaming myself and finding time to write even easier, even though I have more I'm doing now than I did a few months ago. So I think that's my biggest tip, is to just really like sit down and try and find your balance. And as time changes, like you have a kid or you get a different job or you go back to school, your time's going to change and you're going to have to find the balance again. It's something you really have to do like a few times a year, but don't feel bad. Like, don't kick yourself. And if you're starting to hate it, give it a break, do something else, like read, do something else creative. Don't ever just give up storytelling entirely, but like, don't ever make yourself hate it, because that's
totally true.
That just ruins it all. But that's pretty much my main tip.
Yeah, that's good. Also, when people say make time for it, really what you should take out of that is, if you have something that you're choosing as like a hobby, you need to replace that with writing, as opposed to trying to replace like sleep or, something like a job or something that you actually need. Like, if you spend 2 hours a day watching Netflix at night, at least replace 1 hour of that with writing instead of, like not sleeping or not eating or whatever it is. Exactly. So sometimes you're not going to have any of those activities in your life, and then that's the way it is for that time being. But
exactly.
In the times
I think we have a whole
hobbies,
episode about like not falling on your vices. And one of the vices of a writer is to kind of destroy themselves. Because trying to prioritize writing in a busy life. Yes, like you.
I have another one. put a notebook in your bag. Bring a notebook with you
that is
anywhere
such
you go.
a good tip. I never do that, and I need to.
I do it all the time. I always have a notebook with me because you never know, because you could be out and then you're like, have a good idea, write it down. And then you will be more motivated when you get home. Or if you're like waiting on somebody, just take it out and you can write for 10 minutes.
Yep.
And I think that's really helped me a lot.
That is a
and it's fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. I just got a little notebook. Actually, this is a perfect reminder for me because I ordered a journal and I thought it was going to be bigger and it's actually smaller, but maybe God is just like, hey, that's purse sized. It is purse sized. So I need to put it in my purse and start taking it with me.
Sweet.
Yeah. So I think our last thing we were going to do today was just say what our favorite episode has been this far and why we think it's important.
Yeah, because we're on 50. And so we have obviously 50 episodes to pick from. My favorite is not going to be a surprise. It's the magic system one, the Do You Believe in Magic Systems? I think I wrote it down too. It's episode 19. If you guys want to go back and listen to it, if you haven't, it's just all about magic systems, and that's my favorite thing. So I do love that one. And there have been other, I mean, I think all of the episodes are good, but there have been others that at the end, Ash and I'll just kind of look at each other and be like, that one was really good.
That was good. Yeah.
Yeah, so they exist, but that's probably my favorite.
Yeah.
Spoons,
do you have one? I don't know. You're not on here all the time, so
well,
you can pick your episode.
I am partial to the fan fiction episode, but I agree with you. I think magic systems, that's a really cool thing to talk about and like hear other people talk about.
Yeah.
Also, I do remember when you guys put out the morally gray and that one had some excellent memes as far as I'm remembering. So
True.
Yeah, all thanks to Carissa. Carissa brings out the memes for this pod. She really kills it with them. Speaking of kill, my favorite episode is Kill Your Dialogue, Darlings. It's I think episode 43. It's about how to avoid cheesy dialogue, which is not, this is very on brand for me that I picked a dialogue episode because I love dialogue and I'm arrogant in the sense I'm going to say I think it's my greatest strength. I think I'm pretty good at it. But I will say runner up, and there could be others, honestly. I think a lot of our episodes are really good too. Obviously, we like what we talk about because we talk about it every week.
We think we're great.
One, we think we're fantastic. I think episode 41, it was called Official Conditions for Saving the Girl. I think that was another good one. Because it was about like when and how to pull off a saving the girl trope, which it can either be wonderful or horrible. And so I just really enjoyed it. I think dialogue is like the lifeblood of communication in the real world. Like it's how we completely connect to each other. So that's why I think that one's important. And official conditions for saving the girl, I just think is important because I feel like it's an issue people look at like surface level and then they just decide really quickly. Like they're like, absolutely, it's fine. Or no, the girl should never be saved. And I feel like it's extremely nuanced, like many things. And you throw the baby out with the bathwater if you pick either of the extremes. And so I enjoy getting to actually like talk with somebody about all of my thoughts on that trope specifically. So
cool.
Yeah. Was that everything?
That's all I had, I think.
Okay, sweet.
I had fun.
Yeah, me too. That was a good time.
Thanks for letting me come back, you guys.
Yeah, of course. I feel like I know more about you now. And, I have some blackmail material. I have some insider knowledge.
Okay. Yeah, we got that on you too, though. Your whips were delightful. Your original whips. I need more from all of them. I need more of every single one.
Maybe one day.
But if you guys want to keep up with the Scripturient Society during the week, you can do that. You can follow us on social media. We are on TikTok and Instagram. We are the Scripturient Society. If you guys have a topic that you want us to talk about that is specifically about writing or that you want to talk with us about, you can email us at contact@storysirenstudio.com. That's our production company. Or you can message us on social media. We will definitely check it out. We'd love to talk about what you guys want to talk about. In the same vein, if you guys want to chat with us and kind of start like a writers group on Patreon, you can do that for free. Again, you'd go to Patreon and go to Story Siren Studio because that's the production company. And bonus, if you guys do decide that you want to sign up for Patreon, then you actually will get exclusive content from our sister podcast, That Pretentious Book Club. So there's like videos and bonus episodes and stuff there. So yeah, and then you also get to hang out with the TPBC audience, which you obviously we're readers and writers. So we're all like very, very similar in the same vein. So go check it out and go check out the sister pod if you want. It's a book club comedy podcast. So if you guys couldn't tell already, but go check it out. And if you guys have enjoyed these 50 episodes so far, or even half of a single one, if you wouldn't mind leaving us a review, that would be so nice of you. You guys can do that down below. I think that's everything that we've got for you guys. So until next week, keep writing.
And we'll see you on the next page.